We see in the near future humans and androids living together harmoniously. Aisha, a senior at Merced High School in California, goes to her therapist to talk about a recent panic attack. Her day usually starts with a hangout with her friend Carrie and her boyfriend Livy. During a classroom experiment on sound waves, Aisha suddenly gets a headache, leading her to interrupt the class. Her classmates react with suspicion because her behavior seems inexplicable to them. The therapist attributes her actions to an incurable illness. Later, Carrie invites her best friend Aisha to a party. Aisha then tries to find her boyfriend, Livy, to inform him, but instead discovers him cheating on her with an android. Furious, Aisha decides to hit the party solo, down some drinks, and try to hook up with another dude. But Livy catches on and intervenes, causing a scene by beating the guy up. Under the influence of alcohol, Aisha stumbles and injures herself on shards of glass in the bathroom. As she examines herself, she makes a shocking discovery inside her body, which terrifies her. While doing so, she accidentally pulls out another wire from her ear, causing her to lose consciousness. Aisha wakes up in the morning in her bed, horrified to discover injuries not only on her arm but also on her stomach, with glowing wires visible in the injuries. She wanted to share her experience with her father Martin, but she noticed that he had already left for work. On the way to school, Aisha rubs her eyes as her friend Carrie expresses concern, noticing that she left the party early yesterday. However, Aisha decides to search for her real identity, so she takes one of the androids at school and heads to the tech room for a chat, showing her injuries to the android, who reveals to her that she has a data processing system integrated. Aisha realizes that she, too, is an android, yet a more sophisticated one whose appearance is indistinguishable from that of a human. Seeking guidance, she approaches her therapist, Sharon, and shares with her the shocking revelation. The therapist, seemingly prepared for this scenario, utters a series of coded phrases that activate Aisha's sleep mode. Sharon then examines the girl's memories on her tablet and notifies her father that she has become aware of her true identity. The following day, Aisha awakens from a horrifying dream in which she had killed her pet. After calming down, she heads to the kitchen to have breakfast, where she discusses her disturbing dream with her father before leaving for school. Unexpectedly, Aisha finds herself embroiled in a conflict with her friend Carrie at school, a confrontation that brings up questions about the previous day, but Aisha discovers she has no memory of it. In one of the school's laboratories, Aisha encounters her classmate Jeannie, who had witnessed Aisha's injuries the day before. Jeannie asks about Aisha's well-being, but the young girl remains confused, failing to grasp the situation. Jenny then activates one of the devices generating high-frequency sounds, which triggers a new headache in Aisha. Such a frequency is only audible to androids. Confused, the girl runs out of the classroom and meets the android she had spoken with the day before. He inquires about her health following their previous conversation, yet the young girl finds herself at a loss, remembering nothing of it. Taking the android aside, she tries to remember their discussion. The android explains to her that her memories have been deleted, but he restores them. As the girl begins to relive past events, she panics and runs away from the school. She escapes the city, but as she approaches the colony's border, her body refuses to move any further. Meanwhile, Noah, the owner of a large technology company, introduces new nanorobots. These tiny robots enter the brain of a young girl who is deaf and manage to heal her. After this demonstration, an employee pulls Noah aside to inform him about an issue with one of the androids in Merced City. Afterward, Aisha goes back to school and encounters Livy. She asks him for cheat codes that can override the android's security systems and make them execute tasks set by users. Using the data obtained, she activates various functions in her body that were previously inaccessible. She is now able to recognize people, retrieve information about them from the web, recognize faces, and hear conversations over long distances. She was even able to simulate her own menstrual cycle. Suddenly, her mind is flooded with memories of a young boy pleading with her not to leave him alone. Following that, Aisha's system becomes increasingly strained, leading to her collapsing in the street. Then we see Noah and his brother Abel talking about the problem with their android. The company director sends his brother to resolve the situation. Bystanders come to Aisha's aid and suggest she call for medical help, but her father arrives and takes her away, insisting that she doesn't need a doctor. Martin tells his daughter that he will be back soon, but Aisha's newfound abilities enable her to overhear him saying that lying only complicates his situation. He leaves to see Sharon to discuss his daughter's condition. Martin thinks this can't go on anymore and wants to tell Aisha the truth, but Sharon convinces him not to. She thinks that if the girl finds out everything, the tech company will find out too and come for Aisha. While her father is away, the girl searches through his belongings and discovers a tablet he uses to monitor not just her life but also her thoughts. The story then shifts to Dallas, taking the viewer back 4 years to a teacher's meeting. Martin sees Aisha playing by herself and approaches her to start a conversation. The girl shares that she is there with her mother, Professor Sharon. Martin and Sharon spend the night together in bed. The man admits that Aisha reminds him of his deceased daughter. They continue spending time together, but the woman never reveals that Aisha is an android. One day, Martin takes Aisha for a drive, during which the android malfunctions. Sharon arrives while the android is in rest mode and takes it home. Martin is furious upon realizing he hasn't been told the entire truth. Sharon explains to him that she did this for his safety, but Martin, disappointed, leaves. 2 months later, Sharon found him in a cafe and informed him that the young girl missed him a lot. Martin tells him his feelings. The adults then decide that Aisha will go with him to California, where he will play the role of father and where Sharon will become Aisha's therapist. Aisha meets her father at home. As he returns from Sharon, the young girl tries to discover the whole truth about herself. Martin reveals that Aisha is a program developed by Sharon when she worked at a robotics company. However, the company was opposed to androids evolving to the point where they were indistinguishable from humans. They wanted to stop Sharon's progress. Aisha, enraged, storms off to school and encounters the android she had spoken with earlier. He assures her that he can prevent her memory from being erased, and she pleads with him to do so. Later on, Aisha confronts Sharon to express her unhappiness about being under constant watch. She threatens to share a video she made on the internet. Faced with this threat, Sharon reluctantly agrees to stop the surveillance if Aisha doesn't release the video, and the woman reluctantly agrees. The young girl declares her new independence, radically changes her appearance, and returns to school. Despite Carrie and the girl's attempts to communicate with her, she ignores them. Meanwhile, Sharon reviews the chat recordings, remembering a conversation with the company's CEO. When she completed the creation of the girl, they ordered the project to be halted, considering it useless, and suggested that the android be hidden away in a warehouse. Meanwhile, at school, Aisha continues her routine, leaving a test incomplete. On her way out, she sees Abel removing the malfunctioning android from the school using a special gun to incapacitate it. The man notices the girl watching him, and as Aisha walks down the street, she panics upon seeing Abel's black van following her. She runs and barely manages to avoid getting hit by a car. Jenny intervenes and follows her from school. The classmate explains that she tracked Aisha using an old device placed in her leg. Abel returns to the school and examines the data stored by the android, discovering Aisha in the creation of their company. He looks at an image of Aisha, revealing her hand wired to the android. Carrie notices this and films the scene on her phone. Jenny is already removing the old tracker and escorts her to a discreet place. She reveals to her that they were once close friends and that they used to spend a lot of time together. Aisha returns home to pack her things where Martin greets her and implores her to stay for her safety, but she convinces him that leaving is the best solution. As Aisha and Jenny were preparing to escape with Livy's help, Abel ambushed Carrie during the night while she was in her car, deleting the photos of Aisha and administering an unknown substance to her, which caused her to lose consciousness. Sharon goes to Martin's house to discuss about Aisha. Upon returning to the professor's residence, they encountered Abel, who was seeking information on Aisha's whereabouts. Despite Martin's threat to involve the police, Abel persuades him not to, emphasizing the potential legal consequences for Sharon. Aisha and her friends decided to go to Canada. During the trip, she discusses Levi's involvement with the school android when he insists it's just a machine. Aisha gets irate and gets out of the car. She feels offended, realizing that she is also an android. The group continues on its way and stops for the night at a motel. In the morning, while Livy goes to get coffee, Jenny tries to find her friend's first memories. Meanwhile, at the company office, Abel presents his brother with all the information he has collected about Aisha. Coming back to the motel, old memories resurface in the minds of Aisha, triggered by Jenny. The young girl learns that her relationship with her classmate has gone beyond friendship to become a romantic relationship and a mutual obsession. Martin notices this and asks Sharon to reprogram her daughter to return her to a normal state where she is not attached to anyone. The professor erases all of Aisha's memories of Jenny, causing her friend great emotional pain. The memory of when Sharon presented her creation to her superiors also resurfaced. However, They rejected the android and consigned it to a warehouse. After that, Aisha screams and rushes out of the motel. She also remembers that there was another android in the company's warehouse, a little boy. The story goes back 5 years when Aisha tells Sharon of her deep loneliness, which prompts the professor to create a brother for her. As she runs down the road, the girl remembers these events, but soon her battery runs out and she pulls over to the side of the road. Ginny and Levy locate her and carry her to the nearest electric charging station, leaving her alone for a few minutes. Suddenly, Abel shoots Aisha and kidnaps her. He brings the android back to the company, places her in a wheelchair, and carries her through the corridors. The young girl asks him why he didn't deactivate it, and Abel replies that his brother wanted to observe her. Aisha asks to see her brother, and the kidnapper agrees. Recognizing the sincerity of her emotions, he orders them to hurry. But at that moment, Noah enters the warehouse and accompanies the young girl to another room where Martin and Sharon were waiting for her. Aisha pleads with the company manager for her release, yet he holds the belief that doing so would negatively impact his business. The young girl then tries to escape, but a virus previously installed by Abel begins to act in her body. The program systematically disables all of the android's functions, causing it to crash and preventing it from joining its brother. Martin rocks Aisha, holding her in his arms as her functions slowly fade away one after the other. Just before her death, she asks to pass a verbal password to Jenny. The girl and her brother are sent to a recycling center where their bodies are turned into scrap metal. Martin and Sharon leave the company and meet Jenny and Levy. They share the dark news, and the man relays his daughter's last words to his friend. A few days later, at school, Jenny and Livy meet the android with whom Aisha has often spoken. Jenny decides to try the password command on the android, and after a few attempts she succeeds. This triggers the files that Aisha had embedded in the android. In her files, she wrote down a message to her father, explaining that her digital double has been preserved and that she is looking for someone to make a new android body for her. The film ends with a scene set in a small factory in China, where workers are assembling android body components. In a quiet and motionless corner, we see the body of Aisha. Could humans and androids live together peacefully as neighbors? Tell us in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more movie recaps. Thank you for watching.